Welcome, my dear friends and distinguished listeners, to Navigate with Idy. This is the second edition in the year 2022. It's such a great pleasure and a privilege to share and also learn from you. But I must thank God Almighty for the gift of life. And like I always say, without that, we are nothing. So, friends, I think it is still in order to have that attitude of gratitude daily as we embrace a new order, a new chapter, a new day. It's important to always be thankful to God Almighty for the gift of life. And that's the premise on which I would like to start, and to wish each and every one of you a happy and prosperous new year. 2022 and beyond portends great opportunities for so many of us. All we need to do is to latch on to it. And we started the year by looking at the subject of strategic planning. In the last episode, we defined strategic planning and took it from the context of how it does help businesses succeed to even ourselves as individuals. I'd like to do a quick recap of that, and from there, we can then step into what we want to share today. The last episode, or which was our first episode in the month of January, we said that strategic planning helps you to manage the future. If you don't manage the future will manage you. That strategic planning provides a framework of practice to draw on and encourages strategic thinking. This was one place I kept emphasizing, and that thinking is very key to everything that we do. If you don't think, you can't do. If you don't think, you can't act. And so when you find great corporations and great companies today that have spent over a century, you will find that at the heart of their growth and enablement is great thinking that brings about innovation. And that innovation in itself brings about either new products, new processes, new services, and they renew the existence of that particular entity year in, year out. And they now become a century-based business. And you wonder, how did this particular business or brand or entity stay for over 100 years? It is simply because at the heart of it is strategic planning. Some people are going to sit back and visualize what it will be down the road. That also would happen if you look at your career. We talked about strategic planning going to the heart of what an organization does. Well, this is more or less a recap of our first edition in the year 2022 and why and how it does it and where it is going. So strategic planning goes to the heart of what an organization does. I can also swing it what an individual does, why and how it does it, and where it is going. And that led me to 5 key questions that I enumerated that strategic planning speaks to. Number 1 was, where are you now? It's a question you need to ask yourself. It's a question your organization needs to ask itself. It's a question the business needs to answer. The second question that strategic planning speaks to is, how did you get there? How did you get to this space you find yourself right now? The third question is, what business are you in? I said this categorically that a lot of young business owners, SMEs, even employees that work in businesses have no idea. They are not able to articulate what type of business and what business they are in because they are into this and that. They are just all over the place, unrefined. And at the end of the day, you expect to have a glorious output. It's not going to happen because sustainability does not come when you are all over the place. It comes from focus. It comes from having a clear plan. It also comes from putting resources and managing resources all the way through. The fourth question was, where do you want to be in the future? Where do you want to be in the future? This was one question that I also expanded into the realm of the individual. So as a business, you are a young business owner, or you are a micro um, business owner, or you're a small or medium scale business owner, remember, now that you've been able to, see that future, you now begin to ask yourself, how do I get there? And that begins a process of you going through articulating the different channels, the different activities, the different initiatives that you will take on that will help your business to get to the ultimate place. Friends, this business education series, I did say from the start, is poised to help these categories of people primarily. Number one, business owners. That is the small, medium scale entrepreneurs. Number two, employees, people that are working in companies, just to create an enlightenment, because you need to understand how business gets done. You may not get a chance to go to some form of training that will take you through this because your company cannot afford it. But this is an opportunity. And that's why on Lagos Talks 91.3, courtesy of Corporate Shepherds, we are bringing this business school on radio to you, and that you may be able to learn some things. And we both co-learn. It's a co-learning process. And as we are starting with strategic planning, I can tell you that we are going to move into different aspects so people can now begin to stand well. We are getting into the era that our country, especially our continent, needs a lot more business aficionados. We need to create businesses. See, jobs are not going to come to anyone. Jobs are there when they are created. And so I believe that every single individual that has a potential, not everybody is called to be a businessman or woman. Not everyone is called to be a business owner. Let me say that up front. But I do say to you that even under partnerships, you can be a part owner of a business. So being a business owner doesn't mean that you must be the principal, the MD. It also means you can be a shareholder. And so the more we are enlightened, the better we'll do things and more productive we'll be. That is the essence of this program. And when we started strategic planning on the Tuesday edition, the first edition of the year, I then went into a space of noting what the advantages of strategic planning are. And I said to everyone that cared to listen, that was in that particular frame, that strategic planning would provide a framework for understanding your position in the marketplace. So your business, you will be able to articulate where you sit, where you stand, where you are, and where you want to be. Who are those all around you? The competitive context in which you are playing, where you are playing and all. It is strategic planning that positions you there because you are asking questions. And those questions are what will give you the guidepost. I said that strategic planning also enables the ability of moving forward with a sense of direction. When you have a sense of direction, purpose, and urgency, you will then understand that planning comes there. Nothing just happens, friends. Strategic planning will allow you focus on the key issues and those elements that will help you drive productivity and enable growth. It will help improve motivation and how you will communicate at the different levels. Ultimately, it will help you deliver results. This, in a nutshell, was where, we kind of capped it on Tuesday. And I had to do that slight recap for the benefit of those who are listening firsthand. And also for those of you who tuned in, that you can have a refresh of it as we move into the sequence of today. And I'll be starting by looking at, strategic planning and saying, could there be some form of space where strategic planning cannot, be so useful? The answer is no. However, when I come within the context of saying that when an organization fails to plan, it becomes reactive, then you'll see that it is not strategic planning that caused your failure. It is your inability to plan. So when you don't plan, you become reactive. And it's exactly the same thing I want you to note about your career. There are a lot of you today that have no view. You've not thought about your career, where you want to be, where in the future, what kind of skills you need to build. I mean, now people are going to tell you the 10 top skills you need to build for 2022. It's foolishness for anybody to tell you that these are the skills you need for this year. Skills are skills. The skills I built 30 years ago, I'm still utilizing them now. It has nothing to do with timing. It's inbuilt. It's like telling a generator you don't need a capacitor. It's like taking any instrument that the capacitor is not necessary. Then your light bulbs will not come on. I mean, your fluorescent tubes will not come on. Then it means your water pump will not come on. Skills come to play. It's almost like a capacitor. So please, I see a lot of training outfits. I see a lot of them, put them on Instagram and will say the 10 top skills you need for the year 2022. People are just commercializing your brain. Don't be foolish. Don't listen to it. As a matter of fact, you must know that where you are and where you want to be, there is a gap. And how do I get there? And it's you sitting down to say, I need to plan. So when an individual or organization fails to plan, it becomes reactive. For the individual, I'll put it in pidgin and in a balance that you will understand. It will become anywhere beleface. That is, wherever the wind or the tide goes, that's where I'm going. When you see a man that is anywhere beleface, he's going nowhere. He's just anywhere, he gets into a bus and jumps into the bus and does not even know where the bus is going and just enters. Say, Shina boss, make all of us go. And in the process, he becomes reactive to his environment. Same thing with the business. Any business that fails to plan becomes very reactive and very close to opportunities. Is that what you want for your career in 2022 and beyond? You can't afford to. And so I'm putting this out there to be able to help as many people to open their eyes and see that the business you are in, you must plan. Even if you don't know how to, ask questions. If you don't know how to go about it, take on a coach. But many of you don't want to pay. See, knowledge is not free. Knowledge is not free. Intellect can be free because it's inside. But by the time somebody is applying that knowledge and is teaching you about something, come on, that person deserves some form of recompense. But many of us want it free. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that it's every case that you have to pay for. No. Are you paying for listening to Navigate with Idy? Are you paying for this program? You're having a free business school on radio. Are you paying for it? The answer is no. To you, because you are not exchanging Naira and Kobo. However, you have sacrificed 1 hour of your time to be able to listen to this man called Idy Enang. Now, the only problem is that you are not the one to pay the bill. You are not the one that will take on the airtime. That is where someone always takes off something somewhere. So, in order to make a success of your life, of your career, of your business, either the one imagined or the one you're running now, a strategic planning process. Strategic planning needs to be focused. It needs to be focused. You need to be very clear. You need to plan. You need to be clear. You need to define and understand where you're going and what you're doing. And even if you have 2 staff or 3 or 4 or 20 or 50, you must find a way to allow your staff understand what you're trying to do. Because at the end of the day, each of them will be playing different parts to bring the whole together. Many companies, many businesses make the mistake of only keeping this to top management. When I mean top management, is the owner and his brother or the directors, that's it. And they are never at the site. They are never there. Even your customers, the output that will get to your customers, the function of how your staff will treat the actions that are coming through as regards of your planning process. The second big item is that strategic planning needs to be very challenging. You see, a lot of times, and this could also term as a disadvantage, because Very many people are ambitious in their planning. They wake up and they say, come, I want to get to the moon. That's very good. It's very ambitious. Sometimes you can look at the disadvantage of strategic planning. Some people want to be very ambitious and say, we want to grow this business 5 times over in 1 year. Well, you really must know something that others don't know. Or you say, we want to grow this business in 3 years by taking it or doubling it in 3 years. That could be challenging, but please ensure that it is realistic. Being realistic will mean that your people can get to grips with it. The third thing I'd like to say is that strategic planning needs to be responsive. And responsive here means taking account of the market and the environmental conditions. So many things happen in the marketplace, but many of us do not, of necessity, have a pulse of what's going on in the market. So what strategic planning helps you do is to engage in a deep dive to understand the end player, end user, a deep dive to understand your service level ratio, a deep dive to understand how much of your product is being created within the essence of why it was created. Because many times services or products are outputs of a need that is identified. When you identify a need, you want to fulfill that need at a profit. That becomes business for you. In that, it's marketing. Marketing is business and business is marketing. However, there's always a place to have a pulse. It's almost like an individual. You know, today because of COVID, if you're going into any public place, they'll always have someone to take temperature. And why? They just want to be able to use that as a first stopgap to know who is and who is not feeling well. So if you get there and your temperature is like 39, they're going to isolate you. So imagine a business that does a temperature check. What is that temperature check? You can do that depending on the nature of your business. It can be quarterly, it can be yearly, but you must have a plan to have a temperature check. If you don't, it's at your own peril because the environment in which you play might have changed and you're just fooling around and all of a sudden you wake up and find you no longer have a business. In like manner, let me take this into the career area. Very many of us get into a particular job or role and many falter because they sit in a place that they are enjoying some perks. Friends, let me tell you, if you ever get carried away by the perks of office and you don't ever want to be promoted, then you are working in a foolish context because you will be removed. This happens a lot with public servants or civil servants or whatever we call them. They get promoted into a space and the perks of that place, the man will tell you, oh, Makusibi, he will want to die there. Why? Because he knows that that seat is a hot seat. He will go to every babalawo and go to every prayer house, combine all. All kinds of juju and all kinds of demons will be fighting for him to retain that seat. It's foolishness. Why? Because in his mind, this is a pot of glory. And I will not live here. I can build houses and habit them. It's short-sightedness and foolishness. However, do you know that people do that with their careers? Very many of us get into a role and we just enjoy the pleasures of that office. Oh, they are calling you. People are calling you every second. The vendors, the customers, oh, management. Oh, where is ID? Oh, where? The media are calling you. You get carried away with the euphoria of the office. And then what happens? You lose track of where you're going. That is the beginning of failure. To some others, they get into twatwa, corrupt tendencies. You can run deals. I mean, I'm saying this, a lot of people that are in their career and their roles now are stuck in those roles because of what they can get. And it's not because of their salaries, but it's because of the deals they can make. And so they are able to put these deals together. But ask me, what do they do at the end of the day with this money? You get into materialism. You want to buy houses. How many of them can you cohabit? Yet we'll talk about politicians who stifle money. How are you different from a politician? How are you different from a man who is taking away from the essence of what he was given. Some others would like to puncture different things. Friends, you must step away. And the best way, you must have a temperature check in your job, in your career, and say, am I doing okay? Yes, the company sets up an appraisal system. That appraisal system will give you a check. It's a temperature check. How are you faring? But you need to have your own to say the goals that I set and the things I want to do. How am I doing? Then that's where the coach or your mentor or whoever in an advisory capacity will tell you that, hey, I think you're doing well. Or, hey, I think you have so much to do. Why? It's because you have an accountable or an accountability partner. In 2022, every one of you must have an accountability partner, not just one person. Someone you can go to, someone who can look at you and tell you straight to your face that you are messing up. Someone who can say to you, you know what? Like I always say in Pidgin, a person will like you go tell you, say your mouth they smell. It is a man or woman that loves you that will be able to tell you you have mouth odor or body odor. That person truly loves you, because others will not. They will only be saying, Nobody is going to say anything. They will never tell you. But strategic planning enables you to have a pulse, a feel of the environment as a business, if you're a business owner, as an employee, and at the same time, in whatever facet you can do. The fourth thing I'll say is that strategic planning, enables flexibility. It makes that you can easily adapt to change. But be careful. You must also know that, but too much change can also cause havoc. It's not that you'll be changing and changing and changing. No, it doesn't work that way. And finally, I want you to understand that strategic planning enables creativity. And what it does is it inspires commitment and makes the organization and the business stand out. Friends, we've come to the first half. We'll be back shortly and we'll continue from there. Don't go away. Let's just take a break and I'll be right back.
This is Navigate with Idy, brought to you by Corporate Shepherds.
Welcome back, my dear friends. It's Navigate with Idy Enang, the second edition in the year 2022. Happy New Year to those of you just joining. And to those that have been there, well, welcome. And let's continue the stride. We've been looking at the subject of strategic planning and trying to establish a blend within the context of our audience. And, just to highlight the fact that this is a business education series and we hope it will help a lot of business owners begin to, to shape their minds, have understanding of the things they need to do so they can be better, more productive. And of course, there'll be better people and better businesses, and also with employees who would have a sense of the whys and wherefores, and not just become passengers in the ship. All they want to do is get their salaries. And so to that extent, we ended the first half by looking at some of the factors that come through with strategic planning. And I did mention the fact that flexibility comes through, creativity comes through, and the need for people in their businesses or careers to be responsive. That is, taking account of the market and environmental conditions, having a pulse, also indicating that your plan must be challenging, but not unrealistic. Because sometimes some people plan and they just say, listen, I want to become governor tomorrow in 2023. And then you have not even started anything and you say it. Then it's not that it's impossible. Yeah, everything is possible. But then there are certain ingredients that must be there. But the biggest piece of the entire pie is focus. Strategic planning allows you to be focused as an individual, as a business, as an organization, because you have the gravitas, you're clear. Imagine a road that is very clear. You can accelerate. The speedometer may get to 200. You can hit the dashboard all the way through. But think about another road where there are ditches. Would you still speed? Would you run at the same speed? The answer is no. So something enables something. And that's this thing called strategic planning enables you to move in a mode and a conquest direction. Well, this particular half, I'd want to just highlight some key actions, and you may also take it as a checklist. What you need to do, considering the 5 questions that we talked about, some of the things you need to do. So you may just take this as a wrap, and then if you need further to expand it any further, then you need to reach out to me. contact@navigatewithid.com. That's my email address. Or you can follow me on my social media handles. It's at IDYENANG. Pop your questions there, or find a way, go to the website, Corporate Shepherds or navigatewithid.com either, and then drop in your question. And of course, we'll have an interaction. So if we're looking at more or less key actions that you need as a business owner, what would they be? Number 1, involve all your staff. Involve all your staff. The planning process should not be restricted. I've said that before, merely to contributions from senior management, which is what always happens. Now, I'm not saying that the people on the shop floor, that your driver should of necessity know where you are going and what you're doing. But to the extent that you must have a briefing and to tell them, this is where as a company, we are looking at doubling our production capacity from 100 to 200. And we are hoping that we will sell more than 200 entities, whatever that is. This is where your own role, where you will come in very handy. So as a driver, you need to be very efficient with your time. Your turnaround time, if we say delivery should not be more than 60 seconds, 3 minutes, when you get to the point where you've delivered, you shouldn't spend more than 3 minutes. So you can end up, delivering more products and will reach our goal. That is what the process does, that everybody finds himself in the pie. So try to involve as many people in this as possible, because stakeholders help move things well. Now, how does this also work for those of you, if as an individual, talking about your career, you need to involve certain people. You need to have a stakeholder map about your career. Who and who do you need to support you to ensure that you get to this space? I have a famous analogy. I always talk about, a woman in the labor room. That woman had conception possibly 9 months before. But on a certain day, 9 months after, she's in that labor room to deliver a baby. There are four options or probabilities. The best probability, which we all trust God for all the time, is that the mother and the baby will come out alive. The second probability may not be so good as the first one, that is none come out. The third one would be the baby comes out, the mother doesn't make it, or the mother comes out, the baby doesn't. Those are 4 possibilities, but we always believe and would desire the best one, which is both mother and child to come out. In like manner, your ideas, the concepts you have of a business, the way you want to take your business to glorious heights, it's like that. That idea that I want to build, there must be a delivery day. On that delivery day, who would be with you in that labor room? So a woman in the labor room, who and who will surround her? Think about it. If our case is such that she needs a surgery, she needs to go through cesarean section, it's not the normal doctor for a normal delivery that will be there. It will be a surgeon. They will need an anesthetist. They will need X, they will need Y. And that's exactly what you need to do. Involve others in a way and manner where you are sure that you need to land this craft. In 5 years, you want to be in an executive role running, an entity called Africa for any business. Then you need to engage the right stakeholders who will help champion and pilot you and their affairs. The second key action or checklist is when we ask the question, where are you now? That question was there. You need to analyze your recent performance and also ensure you identify the current position of your business in relation to the market sector. I said that before, and it's really around your current reality. So what does it mean? What is your current market position? Remember, I said this is a checklist. What is your current market position in relation to your competitors? Where do you sit in the office? So in a job grade that they say job grade 7, where they have managers, who are some of the best managers that are flagging and why? That's it on an individual basis, career basis. As a business, you are into what? Sprays. You are into producing food. You are into producing um, items of furniture, or you are even in service. You know, you provide a service. You are a makeup artist. What is the current market position? Who are your competitors? Number 2, how do customers see you? You know, where you are now, how do customers see you? That's a question you need to answer, because if you don't understand how your customers see you, you wouldn't know how to respond to them. The third thing is, what is your share of the market? What is your share of the mind? What is your share? How do I know that I've taken on the mind share that is required? So people will continue to ask for my product, for my service. You know, just yesterday, I got a phone call from a very good friend of mine, you know, and he called me and said, we were classmates way back in secondary school. We met in the university. We even served, you know, somehow our paths crossed a lot. He just called me from the blues. Idy, Happy New Year. I said, wow, how now? You know, we went into exchanging pleasantries. And the next thing he says is, there's a friend of mine out there, he runs a business and he needs a consultant, a business consultant, and was talking about what he needs to do to take his business to this level. He said, you came to my mind immediately. And he said he's on this call, and he put him on the call. That other guy was in Atlanta, and we had that conversation. Tomorrow, I'm meeting his team. That, you know what? That's mind share. So if you become so relevant in the minds of people, when there's an opportunity or they're looking for somebody who has this commercial acumen that can help us structure something or can help us drive leadership in what we are doing and say, what you guys are doing is wrong. Who can come in and just help us dissect our company? And the first person that comes to mind is Idy. Why? Because that is the mind share. But you know, it's about the person, the individual. But you then bring your company in there, corporate shepherds. So in his mind, he says, yes, corporate shepherds. That name, I always hear it. I remember it. I know that it's about shepherding individuals, business. You see how it connects? All connects because you are able to understand how your customers see you, your share of market or mind share is. What are your strengths in relation to your competitors, to the competitive set? Are you on upward or downward swing in terms of relevance? Are you on an upward or downward swing? The third checklist point I would like to talk about is, you know, answering the question, how did you get here? You need to assess the reasons and factors that created this situation for you. That is here, where you are now. How did you get here? Or you can paint the picture and say, this is how I got here. There's everybody knows how they got to a space. Even as I'm speaking to you, you know how you got to where you are now. So what did you do right or wrong to get there? What do you need to do to get to that ultimate place? These things are very simple, friends. You can apply it to your life. You can apply it to your career. You can apply it to your relationships. You can apply it to your work with God. How did I get here? Where I get to the point where I don't believe God can do anything, can God exist? How did I get here? It means I've been mingling or reading or going into reading all kinds of nonsense or watching all kinds of things that have polluted my mind space and my heart. You'll be able to say, how did I get here? What did you do right? It's the same way you assess your business and yourself. The second thing is, were you in the right place at the right time? So many of us, sometimes, we are in the right place at the wrong time. But our prayer is, God, let me be at the right place at the right time. Because that's where preparation meets opportunity. The other question you need to ask yourself is, how much has good planning, bad planning, or no planning contributed either to your success of your business or to the failure you are going through? They are critical questions. The fourth checklist that I want you to put through as you look through strategic planning is about examining your identity. Now, because I'm also addressing business owners, I'll sneak in the word corporate. Examine your corporate identity. For you as an individual who is an employee, examine your identity. You must have a clear sense of your identity. Number one, what kind of organization or people or person are you? What kind of organization are you working for? Is it one where it's all daggers drawn? Are you known within the industry? What do people know about you and you can work for a company and your founder or chairman is an Alibaba and 40 thieves. They look at him and say, is it not this company that this man has stolen the country money and is serving? That's the identity. So as far as you are working for that entity, people will just associate you as one of those that are enjoying the largesse because of stolen money. Examine your corporate identity. Even by association as a business. Oh, I supply to this place. And everybody knows that that place is where it's almost like Otokoto, where they are into ritual killing. People will ultimately look at you and say, this business is one we want to associate with. The second point under this is, what kind of values do you have? What people's strengths do you have? Do you have a reasoning around people? What kind of leader are you? Or what kind of leadership do you have? This is about the identity, the corporate identity, your business. See, you are listening to me now. You are a young man, a young woman, middle-aged, elderly. You've set up a business. You have employed 3 staff. What kind of leader are you? Are you a wicked leader? It's very heart-wrenching that up till this moment, some people have not paid salaries in December. I stand before God who will judge the living and the dead. That will never happen under my watch, no matter what happens. As a matter of fact, in December, by the middle of December, I made sure that it wasn't fun. There are a lot of people still owing us that had not paid. But I would look at the staff and say, no way. They must get their due, both domestic and the ones working with me officially. And they got their salary. One of my guys, my chauffeur, I was just in the kitchen and he stormed in and I saw him on the floor first time. He got up again, went the second time, the third time. I said, are you okay? Why are you just doubling? He said, Oga. He started praying. I said, thank you. And I said, amen. He said, And do you know what he said to me? This guy is one of our chauffeurs. And he said to me, do I remember when we went for our old boys, the reunion, Baptist Academy old boys, my class set of 81. We had a reunion party in October. And drivers were sitting outside, of course. And I came out. Beyond them, they probably had a conversation. They were hungry. So my driver now said to them, he said, he's not worried. Either Madame or Oga will soon come out now and ask him, Lekon Shotijeun. He had barely finished the words and I came through. And I was looking for him and he came to me and I went straight to him where he was standing. I said, have you eaten? He said, oh yeah, let's go. And the next thing I did, by the time we got to the stand where I was asking the lady, I said, have you fed the drivers? The lady said no until we served the executives inside. I said, are you okay? Serve these guys. Because if they drive into poles, all these boys will not have anything in their heads. Unknown to me, the other drivers were looking up to it because they wanted it. He now told me and said, Oga, remember that day? Let me tell you what happened. Most of those guys said, they were envious and they said, this is the kind of a guy they want to work for that would even care about you. What kind of leader are you? What kind of leadership do you have in your company? Are they Pharaoh who want people to take stones and make bread? That in itself will impact your identity, your corporate identity, your personal identity. Why do you choose to be a wicked man or a wicked leader? I'm actually putting together a series. I'm being led by God to study about 3 classes of people. And in the days to come, I may share it on this program. I may share it on other platforms. Number 1, the foolish. Number 2, the wicked. Number 3, the wise. These are 3 classes of people. If you are a young girl and you want to get married and you marry a foolish man and another girl marries a wicked man, both of you will get the same output. There won't be peace. But if you are patient, willing and obedient, and see through to marry, the one that marries a wise man will automatically have peace. This is the story and the trajectory of businesses. Many times people don't know they are stuck in foolishness or wickedness because they are not patient to walk through their identity. So what is your organization's culture? What is your own embodied values as a person? Do you have the morale? Do your staff have the morale? Is it critical? The 5th point I'll put here for you, my friends, as a checklist is you need to carry out a SWOT analysis. You know, like I said to you, you have to also do some work. It's business school on radio, but you need to also do some work. It's a school. Go and do some research. What does SWOT mean? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A SWOT analysis tells you what are your strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities you can latch on. Threats, they are internal and external. Threats are external. But one thing you always find is that weaknesses are internal. You can always convert your weaknesses to strengths. It's very easy. So at some point, there will be no W. You'll be having strengths, opportunities, and threats. Again, what business are you in? Where do you want to be? Do you want to stay in the same place? Where do you want to be in future? You must define your future next quarter, next year, next 2 years, next 5 years. You must define your career space, your job, the expressions of what you want to be. You must define how you want to run your financials, your family, the dimensions that you want to take your family, you and your spouse, in the relationships you find yourself. It's all encompassing, friends. Ultimately, do you want to expand into new areas and why? So the big question is, where are you heading? Are you destination minded? And what is the best way to define destination? It's deciding where you want your business or organization to be in the future. It is deciding where you want your career, where you want to be as an individual. Listen, in 2015, when I went to Paris, I called my boss, Jeff Skinsley, at L'Oreal. In September, I said, Jeff, I want to see you. And he said we could have a video conversation. I said, no, this is more than a video conversation. He said it must be very serious. And I said to him, yes, I needed to see him. And here we are. We had just met in Paris about 6 weeks before. I think about, July, August or thereabout. And September, you're having one of your major CEOs telling you that he wants to see you. It's very urgent. But before I went for that meeting, I called my team in Lagos. And I said to them, that trip to Paris will be either of 2 things. I'll go on that plane. And then when I come back, I'll go in as MD of L'Oreal, West Africa, and I'll come back as Idy Enang. Or I go as MD of L'Oreal and come back as MD of L'Oreal, West Africa. I said to my team in Lagos, I moved over to Ghana because I had a team, the other part of my team were also based in Accra, that the ones running the rest of West Africa, they were based in Accra. And I had a town hall with all of them. And I said to them that I was going to see my boss And it was a come to Jesus meeting. That's the way I put it. Friends, the next person I called when I got to Paris was my wife. I went into that meeting, and that's when I decided I was leaving the company, that I was going to resign. And everybody looked at me and said, "Are you crazy?" When I called my wife and I said to her, I told you I was, she said, "Wouldn't you have even managed?" I said, "No. Listen, I've told these guys how they need to run the business, what we need to do. They can't use their reggae to spoil my blues. They are not ready to do what they need to do. I'll be marking time." See, you can sit in a place in an inglorious position, and the so-called investors and business owners, the people that are invested in the business, are not ready to make the call and the decision. And they'll be telling you to make stones out of bread. I will not allow Pharaoh to optimize me. Pharaoh cannot. And then I told them I was resigning, and I resigned, knocked off all the companies I was running for L'Oreal. I'm saying this publicly because that's what happened. And from 1st of October 2015, I resigned and I left. It was a good parting forum. But because I had a destination, I remember telling my boss that, listen, he said, "Idy, so where are you going?" I said, "Nowhere. I'm just going to sit back and do what I love doing." And he said, "What is that?" I said, "Corporate shepherds." He said, "Would that be able to take care of your bills?" I said, "Watch this space, Jeff." Friends, that was how many years ago? You know, this 2021, 2022 thing always has its own way. So you'll forget that we are in a new year. So, hey, that was 6 years ago. I'm still standing by the grace of God. So you must have a destination, deciding where you want your business or organization in the future. You must have a target destination for your career. People should not define it for you. You must have it. And so when there's a conflict, when you are conflicted, you will also have to be able to make a call. And when you make that call, you stick with it. And even if that call you've made is wrong, you will now know how to deal with it because 50% of it is within your purview. It means that you must have articulated some key success factors. And those success factors are mirrored in milestones. What do I expect to happen by this time? I need someone to also handhold me. And there's also what we call guardrails, friends. See, in an expressway, on a pathway where people are walking, there are guardrails. Those guardrails, they are on steps. When you're going on a staircase, there are guardrails. Many times, a lot of us don't touch the guardrails because we think we are strong enough, we will not fall. Don't let foolishness or ego destroy your business in 2022. Don't let it destroy your career. Don't let it destroy your life. God has provided guardrails for you in every context. Your guardrail could be your neighbor. Your guardrail could be your boss, could be your brother, could be your son, could be anybody. But you must be sensitive to it. More importantly, you must be destination-minded. A man or woman of destiny will fulfill destiny. It's just a question of time. So you must have key success factors. The major success factor is impact. What impact are you making to your community, to your family, to the world at large? If it has to do with the impact to your own stomach, your stomach will grow very fat and big. And when you come, even the airline will book the seat for 3 people, they'll give it to only you. That's obese. You're obese. And in a matter of time, you will crumble. Friends, strategic planning is very key. It makes all the difference. And I believe and I trust God that in the days to come, that you and I will start that process of looking at things differently. Next week, we will touch on this very briefly, and we might, segue into what I call strategic partnerships. But we probably will have one more session on strategic planning come Tuesday. And from there, you can begin to walk through and make sense of where you're going and then track your productivity. Thank you so much, friends, for listening. I hope you do have a wonderful day. And beyond that, also a wonderful year ahead. Happy New Year once again. God bless you. God will enrich you this year, and all resources that you require, He will grant you by God's grace. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.